more extra art class for St. Anne's. I hope you watched the Winslow Homer videos. We're going to do a Winslow Homer watercolor in a little bit. But I want you to I ask you to look at and pick out one of the paintings that Winslow Homer did that you really liked and try to draw it. This is the one I picked. It was like next to the last one. And it's the fish and the frog along the top of the surface of the water, and in the water the bed of the river is so clear. And so it reminded me of when I go kayaking sometimes, and that's what it looks like if I go up the Holston here. So that's the one I picked, and I'm really thinking about doing a bigger, on really good watercolor paper, redrawing this and trying to do a watercolor of it. So I think I'm going to put that on my to-do list. So with our wilderness painting that we're going to do, I did one just so that you can kind of see what it's supposed to look like. Winslow Homer usually, he used a lot of bright colors in his watercolors. Normally in the front, everything is brighter and then it gets paler towards the back. I decided to do a calm scene of a lake and not some water that's all churned up with a storm, because that's really, really hard to do. And so to start off with this, get your watercolor paper, and we're going to do this step by step. You can stop the video anytime that you want to. You need, of course, some heavy paper or watercolor paper. You need some watercolors. This is a set that I have at school for the kids to use, a praying set that has lots more colors. Whoops, I just dripped paint all over my paper. One thing you have to be careful about when you do watercolors is water dripping all over everything when you pick it up. Also, you are all going to be getting watercolor sets from school when the bus comes around delivering things. It won't be one of these big sets, but you could always order one or buy one if you want. And it's really good to have a watercolor brush. You probably won't be getting that either. So you need the biggest, softest brush, and this kind of, when it's not wet, looks like a makeup brush. So the bigger the better for what we're getting ready to do. So the first thing we're going to do is kind of define lightly with a pencil what our picture is going to look like. So towards the top up here, I'm going to draw the horizon line. That's where the land, the water and the land meet the sky. I also want to put a small circle, and I'm doing this very, very lightly so you can see here. So for watercolors. Then I'm going to come down towards the bottom here, and I'm going to draw like this is a view of like you're standing on top of a hill and you're looking down at the lake. And I live in Bluff City, so I see something like this every day. So I'm drawing lightly some trees, and don't take a lot of time with it. I just kind of like scribble it on there. Okay, so hope you can see that. Then what we're going to do, and watercolors, this kind of watercolor that we're doing, it needs to happen super fast. So have your water available and your brush, and really, now you can also take your paper and run it under the faucet or dip it in a thing of water. We do that at school sometimes. But I'm just going to put water all over my paper as fast as I can, and really heavy. I keep going back and getting more and more. If you had a big wash brush, it would be even faster, but I don't have one here with me either. Or maybe I do upstairs in my studio, I don't know. I've done more art since we've been off with the virus for myself than I have in a long time. I'm always just showing you guys how to do something, and I never finish anything, as you know. And so now I'm having a chance to even finish things. So after it's really, really wet, I'm going to move my water over here close to my paints. If you're right-handed, put all of your supplies on the right side. If you're left-handed, put it on the left side. It makes it much more efficient and you don't drag everything across your paper. So that's just a good rule to know. So I'm going to start off with the front here, and I want a really super bright green. And so I'm using my palette lid here, my paint lid, to mix up bright colors. And here I have 2. And if you want it even brighter, you could always put a little bit of yellow in it. And so I'm going to start here, and I'm going to put bright green. I'll have to keep going back and getting more. And I'm doing these lines kind of horizontal. I want a little bit more here. Like I say, I'm using this paint really fast. Now you don't want it all to be exactly the same. So don't go back and say, oh, it's lighter here and darker there. Leave it. That's the way watercolors are supposed to look. So go in here, get a little bit more, keep dripping here. Okay. Now when I'm doing my trees, I'm doing some strokes that are going up and down. See, I'm going up and down here. I'll try to let you see this a little bit better there. If I pick it up, it runs, and that kind of might look pretty good for these trees. I don't want to do it too much when I get up to the top. All right, so that's all I'm going to do right now for the foreground. Then I'm going to go back. I want to get some blues, and here I've got like 3 different blues. I'm really lucky. You probably won't have that choice here. And I'm going to start back here where I put the horizon line. So I'm going to start back here, and I'm going to paint all the way across. Now with watercolors, another thing you don't want to do is you don't just keep going zoom, zoom, back across, or you'll wear out your paper. So I'm just going to come across here. I'm leaving white because we see white reflections in the water. So I'm very quickly again going across there, and that's all I'm going to do right this minute. Okay, now I'm going to water this down. Watercolor, if you want it to be lighter, you don't use white paint, you just put more water with it. So I'm making this lighter, and I'm going to go over the top of this and leaving some for the clouds. Now if you want to, you can always take a tissue and you can make some clouds in your paint if you want to do that. You can see my big moon or whatever it is up there. Sometimes the sun looks really white too, so I might paint a little bit more around that. All right, I want some mountains here right along the horizon edge, so I'm going to get a darker blue. I may even put a little bit of purple in it here, and I'm going to go just right across here, and it's going to run because we want it to be fuzzy looking, but that's why we made the paper so wet to begin with. So I'm going to come back here, and this is my mountains in the background here. Okay, right at the horizon line. Now when I look at it, I think I want to come down here and make it a little bit of a darker green. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to put a little bit more green here. So some of it. And now's a good time. You can look outside and see, all the beautiful foliage that's popped out over the past few weeks since we've been home looking at it. So I want that to be a little bit darker. Okay, so here's what I have so far. And then we're kind of on a hill here, so I think I'm going to come up here, and I think I'm going to put like a few lines that kind of look like rolling hills. Okay, not too much, and I'm not going to go over it. If it's not perfect, I'm leaving it. I look up here and I still think I need it to be maybe I'll put a little more blue in the sky. Whoops, that wasn't blue, that was green. Let me get rid of that. My colors have mixed together a little too much. Maybe I'll put it over here. Okay. All right, so I kind of want a little bit more here, but I'm going to wipe it off really quick to make it a little bit darker. So it gives me more of a clouds in the sky. Okay, I'll let you see that for my sky there. See how fuzzy it is? That's really what you want right now for this project. All right, now the horizon line, I am not seeing that very well, so I feel like I can barely see that line, so I'm going to go across here, and I'm going to paint another line of that dark across so we can see the horizon line there. I'm going to have to make it darker. Okay, that's finally dark enough. And it's really fuzzy looking, but I like that. Now, while I've got this color on here, I may just take a little bit of it and just put a few other little places of it in here. And again, I want it to be a little bit lighter, so I'm going to blot it right after I put it on there a little bit. Maybe need a little bit more water here. Oops. Okay. Now, I think that's pretty finished for me for what we're doing here. I wish if I can get my brush a little bit cleaner, I'd like to lighten, there you go, lighten that up a little bit more there. And we're just going to leave this alone and let it dry. Now, once it dries, then, I'll put it over here in the sun, then you can go back in with a felt pen or some kind of a black pen and add detail. So like in the foreground here where I've got these trees, I'm just adding, and I'm not just like, it looks like I'm scribbling, but it's a very controlled kind of a scribble. And it comes from just looking out the window, and I can look out the window right here and see all kinds of beautiful trees off my deck. So I'm adding, and I'm going to just do lots more little detail in here. And I've outlined the mountains in the background, my horizon line, and a little bit of some of the sections where the water is, but not a whole lot. But I'm mainly going to focus on putting more lines and detail of the bushes and the trees in here, because I think that's what it needs. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and you can do this from, I have kindergartners that could do this project. So anybody who wants to try it, or the whole family can do it together, I think that would be wonderful. And so this is our study of Winslow Homer, and what you might want to do is do it again, and this time use sunset colors and see what it looks like. I think that would be beautiful. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week with another video.